My name is Rochelle. I'm the APAC COO for OMD. This topic for me is extremely interesting, especially because we have people like David, Ha, and Ashwini on this panel today, because e-commerce is something that we've all had to kind of look at and strategize, but COVID has made sure we've had to rethink our strategies and rethink our readiness from brand, marketplace, and agencies alike. And which is why through this session, we try to get the point of view of the brand through Ashwini, the marketplaces, and how we could actually engage and interact with them through David. And of course, how would be able to then let us know how all of that kind of integrates together. So this panel is going to be really nice and engaging for brands, agencies alike. And let's try and see how we can get through to the end of this with respect to what are the different challenges, trends, and what do we need to actually look out for when we're planning our own e-commerce journey. And I was going to, hopefully start with Ashwini to give us a brand's perspective on, how brands actually approach owned versus operated channels. But given he's having those technical difficulties, could I possibly look to you, since you've been working with a lot of brands and their e-commerce journey? What are the kinds of discussion you have with brands around owned, the .com marketplace versus the operated marketplace and external channels, and what kind of objectives do the brand come to you with, and what is the kind of strategies or responses you give to them?
Thank you. I think that first of all the brands now after COVID, it seems very obviously that everything moved to commerce, and clients want to learn more and to enter the commerce game as soon as possible. So the questions that I'm most asked by the clients is that whether or not I should go ahead with the marketplace, or I should build my own brand.com, or I should have both of them. And I think the decision is like you're choosing between the option one, you're opening your store in a shopping mall or supermarket where there's frequent amount of traffic with certain customer base, or option two, building your own store, maybe downtown, maybe at the remote areas, but you have to spend efforts to drive traffic there, or option three, having both of them. I think that the pros and cons are very clear in both options, or in three options as well. With marketplace, the brand can leverage the existing flow of traffic and start having the commercial transaction right at the moment they open their shops. And they can learn from the customer's behavior to sharpen their strategies for product assortment, for example, pricing and promoting. The startup cost is also low, and it's easy to set up from there as well. So with brands, and most of the brands now, e-commerce is still the untested water. So with brands of which e-commerce is still something that they don't know yet, or they are not yet have the full experience about that, it is very convenient start for them, and they quickly get the learning. So especially when the brands want to extend their customer base beyond the usual channels and traditional channels, this is good for their acquisition, it's for customer acquisition as well. Meanwhile, with brand.com, So meanwhile, with brand.com, it's different. You have a total freedom to decorate your own shops, full control of your e-com activities, and of course, in the long run, if you want to leverage the data for your later on CRM programs, so it is a destination you should go. It is suitable with the brands who are now at more experience with e-commerce and have a strong, consistent, I think, that commerce strategy across the channels in their marketing integration plan. And they start building the strategy for omni e-commerce strategy. So that allows them to develop innovative marketing campaigns. They can use the data that they store from their brand.com to personalize their marketing, to target as a consumers as they want across the funnel, the purchase funnel. So I think, there's no clear, I think there's no formula works for all, but it depends on the maturity of the clients in the e-commerce field, and they can pick, and they clearly see define the pros and cons of the option. So it is our
actually that makes perfectly a lot of sense, right? I love how you talked about how there's no perfect answer, and every brand needs to kind of look at where they fall within that maturity,
Exactly.
and therefore from the entire e-commerce funnel perspective, what do they need and what role does each of the platforms play? And which is why, David, I'd like to look to you, to answer the next question, because Ha talks about how you have to look at the whole funnel, right, from awareness down to fulfillment, and therefore different, whether it's brand.com or marketplaces like Lazada, each have a different role to play. So from your perspective, how do you as Lazada engage with the brands across this funnel, and what kind of objectives do they come to you with when they're engaging with you? I'm sorry, David, I think you're still on mute.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So when COVID started, so a lot of brands, retail shop have closed. So many brands, their offline sales representative cannot sell anything offline. So a lot of brands reach out to Lazada more frequent and plan to have more always-on campaigns to drive sales, and also start to use Lazada sponsor solutions more frequent to drive awareness, considerations, to show their product features, and also encourage consumers to purchase. And also Lazada will do the delivery to their house. Right. So for Lazada, we have seen that a lot of brands during COVID, due to the budget cut, and as they focus on the limited budget, they want to maximize the result, especially for driving sales, because all of them, as a company, manufacturer, they have a sales target to hit, right? With a limited budget, they need to use it wisely to spend in the efficient solutions channel to drive the maximum results, sales, and also have a good ROI. So in terms of building their own .com, because that it takes a lot of resources, money, and need a huge team to build that. So they are probably on hold for the moment, and they choose the most relevant at the current moment to start with to grow in sales. And from Lazada point that when you do drive traffic or you use Lazada on-site solutions to target your consumers, and we also have the capability that allow you to retarget these consumers to repurchase products, because we always want them to repurchase, because you will finish after a week or after a month. So that's like you use different campaign mechanic, different promotions to attract them back, with gamification, shoppertainment, social commerce, with this whole solution provided by Lazada and also other partners to drive recurring consumptions.
Actually, that makes that's a very valid point that you talked about as well, that COVID has clearly caused a change in the marketplace, and therefore people are looking for the most efficient solution when it comes to e-commerce at the most cost-effective rate. And therefore, the fact that Lazada is able to provide that entire awareness down to fulfillment is what is enabling the brands to almost recover some of their sales targets as well. So,
Michelle, sorry, yes. I do have some good news. Ashwini, we can't see him, but he has just told me he is dialed in and is unmuted. So sorry about that, Ashwini, but we've got him on the call. Now that you mentioned brands, it seemed like a good place to let you know.
It is a perfect time to slot him in. Hi, Ashwini. Would you like to give everyone a short introduction before I ask you the next question?
Hello, guys. I'm very happy to finally being able to make it to the webinar. Had a bit of a technical problem with our corporate network, not letting me go through to BlueJeans. To introduce, I am currently based in Vietnam, managing Kimberly-Clark business. I've been in the region last almost about 12 years, and I consider myself fortunate that I've been with the e-commerce right from the time it started in 2012. I was in the Philippines at that time when Lazada set up the shop for the first time. So happy to share my experience today.
Thank you so much, Ashwini. So we were discussing, pre and post COVID changes in the entire e-commerce marketplace, and therefore, from an owned and from an operated marketplace perspective, how everyone is moving direction, if you may. So from your perspective as a brand, have you seen any significant shift in your owned versus operated channels marketplace before COVID and now post-COVID as well? And how are you kind of dealing with it?
So let me unwind a little more into the pre-COVID time. From the perspective of, let's say, branded, fast-moving consumer goods, we do not really have a brand.com as either one of the prime or even, I guess, in the list of roster, a channel for making a direct sale to the consumer. So we generally, from the brand side, we believe we go wherever the consumer goes, whether it was traditional trade at one time and then eventually supermarkets, hypermarkets, convenience stores, then e-commerce today in its multiple avatars, I would say, whether it's retail e-commerce, marketplace, or even the delivery services. So we would like to be everywhere, wherever a consumer is, so that they can discover the benefit of the brand and we can make that connection. We're coming to more recent times and the disruption we recently faced altogether. From my perspective, I see a lot of shift happening in the market. So as David mentioned, a number more consumers would prefer to be in the safety of their environment and still be able to order and get the product delivered to them. So e-commerce definitely has gone up over the last 4 or 5 months, even for our brands in our market. I also see a lot of shift happening towards, let's say, the delivery services. So order discovery, if I may use that term, is kind of spreading out really thin. People are buying on Facebook, people are buying on Grab, people are buying on messaging apps. In Vietnam, I'm sure some of you are familiar with Zalo. They have their own marketplace now. So anywhere and wherever people can discover a product, they are going to those different places. So it's really in a flux in a way. But definitely overall, offline to online, there has been a shift and got accelerated with COVID.
Actually, that's a very interesting point you made about order discovery and the fact that, wherever you discover something, you may not be actively looking for it, but sometimes wherever you discover something, you then buy it. So keeping that in mind then, when you are working with your agencies, and Ashwini, after you, I'd like you to answer this question from an agency perspective as well. But Ashwini, I'll ask you this first, is keeping this fragmentation of marketplace, if you may, based on order discovery that you just mentioned. How do you then evaluate marketplaces across the region? Because every market would have a very different nuance with respect to where they discover, where they go to look for actively, and where they purchase from.
So I guess probably I'm going to sound a little old school. I look at different order discovery platforms online in let's say in relation to some of the order discovering of offline. So we have seen people going shopping in supermarkets where they go once a month, get a large cart full of stuff, bring home, and then they realize in 3 days later, I should have picked up something else, or I should have picked up a larger quantity of something else. And we've known historically there are some categories or some items that do not make it to the monthly basket. They usually only get impulse purchased when they're out in a convenience store or they're out looking for something else. I see very, very similar behaviors online. So I know people go buying grocery, and while the more prominent app-based marketplaces are trying to get more consumers into grocery buying, I think people, very, very few people buy a basket of groceries today. And basket of groceries make sense online only if the platform was the seller and the shipper and not a marketplace. Because I don't want to buy 30 items online in one cart and receive it in 15 different deliveries, 15 different suppliers. I'm good doing that when I'm buying a cell phone, even a cell phone charger, but not my monthly grocery basket. So I think those people are now going to grab, which will buy the entire basket from a supermarket, ship as one basket home in next 2 hours. Or you guys in Singapore know Red Mart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the fine distinction between a Red Mart model and a Lazada model. And I know David can talk way more about that and help us understand that part better. So in my mind, I guess order discovery is dependent on which category we are talking about. And if I was to go back to our business, the order discovery is actually happening everywhere. It's happening in marketplaces. It is happening on ride-hailing apps, which now buy and deliver from supermarket or anywhere else.
Fair enough. And David, before we come back to you with respect to order discovery, and we'd like to also discuss impulse purchases a bit around that as well. But while you're thinking about that, I'd like to ask you about the question we talked about just now. Given there's so much fragmentation with respect to marketplaces, how would you as an agency work through the evaluation of marketplace with your clients in each of the different markets?
Yeah, or maybe I share some of the insights or experiences when I work with the brands when they request me to evaluate the marketplace. I think that the first questions that when the first challenge and also the question the client give to us is to collect enough information to be able to design or to draw out a sales strategy for the client. So the exercise we always get back to the client when being requested to evaluate the marketplaces are 2 layers of information analysis. The first layer is the overall platform insights from traffic, from active users, the customer base growth, the customer profiles, the top product categories, what are the current platform marketing activities, what are the sentiments, like the top of my values that the consumer have in mind about each marketplace. So this information layer can be collected from the public source. But when it comes to the second layer, when we have to zoom deeply into the competitor reviews and analysis, it is more difficult because the clients always want to learn and to know what are their competitor doing and how they are doing on the marketplace. And from VML and Click, we have this 5P module to evaluate the competitor activities on the marketplace. The first P is the product, everything about the SKU, the ways that one brand bundle their products, packages. The second P is place, the platform coverage, the visibility, the logistic, people, how's the customer reaction to the product they just purchased via the reviews or rating. The fourth P is promoting. What are the marketing efforts? Do they run any build up social media campaigns? Are they running any supporting influencer commerce? And finally, price. The pricing strategies, of course, is super branded, like mega sales or flash sales of their competitors. So those data are owned by the marketplace and not shared publicly. And the only way to be able to provide this observation to the clients to have an always-on monitoring and watch. And we have to set it up in the agency. So that is the first way how we collect the information. It's also the challenge as well. But we want to provide, if the agency wants to provide information to the client, we need to set up a very strong team, and we have to be aware of this. The second point that I want to share is that brand always want to have a good relationship with the marketplace in the category. So that also means that the agency would also have to build a relationship with the marketplace previously, maybe from the experience working with a competing brand or from the always-on observation. The final challenge when the brand brings to the agency when it comes to evaluating marketplace is how to set the right KPI for them to to start the campaign. And I learned a lot from my conversations when our agency engaging in with the customer or with the clients in encouraging the clients to have more confidence to take risks. because there is no formula of success that works for all, from brands to brands, from campaigns to campaigns. And now the customers, they are not loyal at all. And the only way to know is to try, test, and learn. So you know that the fear of failures may cause the brands to be very timid in the e-commerce investment, and the brand always want to know the e-commerce KPIs, the successful KPIs, and they want to set that as as a condition for them to start the campaign. So I also noticed one thing that from my experience, from our experience when we work with the FMCG clients of VML, YNR, and Click. There are some brands that are not structured with e-commerce roles yet within the organization. So it is quite difficult part because we don't have a clear stakeholder for the e-commerce performance and the KPIs. So those are the challenges coming up when we have to do the evaluating marketplace and give the solution and advice to the clients.
I'm going to hold on to that thought about stakeholder management when it comes to e-commerce, and we'll get back to that. But something that has really interested me is what you talked about in terms of the customer and the fact that customers these days are not loyal, which brings me to the question that I wanted to ask David, is at Lazada, when you think about customer and loyalty, how do you see the way e-commerce consumption happens on your platform? Is there a difference? Are you seeing a trend of people coming and consuming probably the same things over and over again, and therefore is subscription-based commerce or pantry stacking phenomena something that you feel has increased now with more and more of the repeat customers? Or do you feel there are a lot of impulse purchases as well, and there are people who are buying on the spot? What is the kind of behavior on your platform?
Okay, so as in terms of consumer, we are all consumer, right? So we always want to buy something same quality, same brand, or cheaper, right? That's the objective as a consumer, right? So for the customer retention, to encourage them to repurchase. So we always have, our customer retention program in our advertising. So we retarget these customer for repurchase and giving them different vouchers, discounts, different mechanic, and also even shoppertainment, like a Lazada game. So get them to play the game on the platform, win brands vouchers. We use our CRM solutions to send an app push to show them based on the targeting, based on our understanding of each consumer with different segments, show them the right products, deals based on their targeting criteria. Then we can encourage those consumers to return to the platform and can make a purchase when they see a good discount. Right? And also we have different thematic campaigns, such as our always on campaigns like Brand of the Week, Baby Fair, Beauty Day, IT Fair, Super Brand Day, and different mega campaigns, which like the 99, Double 11, Double 12 is coming. So we have different campaigns to get consumers to come back to the platform and purchase, because it's talk about FMCG products, because it's a recurring that you either buy weekly or monthly to refill. This is why a lot of people go to Redmart to purchase instead of go to supermarket, because Redmart will deliver to your house instead of you carry so many diapers, milk powders, which is heavy, right? It spoils the shopping moment. So in terms of, we also try to, attract more new customers using different program, in our advertising to recruit new customers by giving them new user sign-up vouchers, discount, gifts, etc. And also we always try to get good products, deals for our customers to buy with a fast delivery. And the brand listed on last mall are their flagship store on Lazada. And if they are authentic, consumer have the ease of mind to purchase and continue to purchase instead of, during COVID, you can't go out. So this is why we see a lot of consumers that come back to Lazada app all the time and the browsing, window shopping, what to buy, and also add to cart, wait for the discount time and check out. It's quite normal.
And do you find impulse purchases playing a role in this, or do you feel mostly it's planned purchases based on discounts and need of the hour?
Oh, there's a mix. So, of course, as a consumer, you always want to get a good deal. So some of them will wait for a mega campaign or some bigger campaign, right? Some of them will be because it's daily or monthly needs products. You don't wait for a month to buy a toilet roll, right? You have to buy anytime when there's need. And sometimes they see, oh, the price is okay, they just buy it in bulk instead of waiting for Double 11, right? So there's a different purchase behavior across different category. Like FMCG will be more frequent regardless of anytime you need those products, right? But for those IT products, maybe you need a new laptop, new monitor during COVID, then you have to buy it now. Or some of things, maybe a smartphone, you probably can change once a year or once every 2 years. So it's really depend on the product and category.
Yeah, and that's a very important point, right? We can talk about e-commerce and different strategies, but it differs by category as much as it differs by market as well. So it's all very consumer based, and that's something that every brand, I guess, needs to look out for with respect to who is your consumer, what exactly is the consumer looking for, and therefore how are you actually putting your brand out there. But David, let me ask you one more question with regards to that then, is in marketplaces like yours then, there's so many different brands, categories, and products across FMCG, IT, you have Redmart as well in there. How does a brand stand out as compared to all the other brands within the marketplace? Is that a pure partnership play that you will have with the brand itself? Or does it also have to do with the kind of data you are collecting, the retargeting you are doing, and therefore do agencies also have a role to play on how brands compete in a marketplace?
So this question I will answer in two perspectives. One is the organic part, right? So for Lazada, we always get consumers to register. So they will fill in all their detailed informations. So our platform is very AI and high technology driven platform, and a lot of products that you see is personalized based on your registration, your past purchase behavior. That let's say you purchased this milk powder 1 month ago, then we have a big database to know that when it could be the potential time to retarget you to show you the milk powder again, or recommend other products. So the whole platform is very AI driven, personalized, looking at different data because we already have different different labeling for all the different consumers and understand your purchase behaviors. And also there are different boosting for different products, and also certain products sometimes brand will give a good discount, good commercial deal, then we will boost them more higher than the rest. And also it's very personalized based on your purchase behavior. So that's the organic part. Right. In terms of the others will be based on the sponsored solution, because when you do a search on Lazada app, let's say you want to buy milk powders, right? So there is a sponsored result that the brands have, same as like Google SEO, right? So we have the same Lazada sponsor search. So there's sponsor slot will show the products based on also it's based on the consumers' past purchase behaviors and also the product detail, and is it relevant to this consumer? It's all very targeted. So then the brands can use different Lazada sponsor solution like search, affiliate, display, and also sponsor recommended products, all these different solutions to get more awareness and also boost their ranking higher to show their products to the targeted customers. And also we provide different trackings, measurements in each of the Lazada on-site solutions like search, display, affiliates, etc. And also we have solutions that we call it MSP, Marketing Solution Portal. You can generate tracking link to put into your Facebook, Google, programmatic, all these different platforms to track their performance. When you drive traffic from external to your Lazada store, then how many consumers have purchased, add to cart, drive revenue, then you can optimize across all the solutions, then optimize them and shift budget to the best solutions, maximize your marketing budget, get great ROI.
That's actually fantastic. I mean, I'm sure the AI is a minefield, and the amount of data that Lazada might even have to go through, the system is absolutely stunning. I have to say, it excites me a lot. And which actually brings me to, if we think about what are the two key things, the basic things when you think about from an e-commerce perspective is finding the consumer and therefore knowing what they want. But it's also measuring them, right? And measuring the outcome and the effectiveness of the channel. And which is why Ashwini, Ha, and David, the three of you are almost like a holy trinity, because each of you measure different sides of this entire e-commerce ecosystem. And David, you've spoken a lot just now about how you're finding the consumer, all the different promotion mechanics, techniques, and the data algorithms of how we can retarget. Before I come to you, Ashwini, I'd like to ask you, from a brand perspective then, if we think about the measurement framework, what kind of information do you feel you get from the marketplaces or you would require more of? And what do you measure from a brand side of things when it comes to e-commerce?
So I guess when you look at it from the brand side, we essentially need to look at a conversion or an effective sale made for our money spent. So I guess till a couple of years back, life used to be simpler because it was more driving the adoption of the platform and driving or changing the behavior with our consumers to buy online. So essentially all metrics were towards looking for the efficiency of the media spend we have outside of the platform, reaching to or driving the traffic or funneling the traffic into the platform. We supplemented that later with successful conversions or orders delivered. Solutions like Facebook CPAS and all helped us drive and optimize those funnels well. I guess today we are in a place where, for example, in our market in Vietnam, penetration of, let's say, Lazada app is very, very high. So it's not so much about introducing to our consumers saying, hey guys, we are available on Lazada. I guess it's not also yet about introducing that have been available online. I think people do come to Lazada very often. There are us and many other brands. So I guess now our focus for optimizing is more within the platform. And that's where all and many of the Lazada solutions come into help. So some of the things happen organically and some of the things are paid services available to retail or marketplace sellers. And that's where then we participate, whether it is to come up in an inorganic search within the platform, if there is a category search being performed, or displaying your store-in-store or your products in a better shape. So I think if I see over the last 2 years, our money spent is moving from more outside of the platform to more on the platform. That's where we are headed. So it's I will probably keep boring you with those offline relevant pieces. But what we look at Lazada as being a very large supermarket. So if I have to merchandise within the store, once you walk into a store, I need to get you to the shelf where my product is present. I need to be able to tell you what the benefit is and effectively help you make a purchase. And all those steps we do now on the platform.
Correct. And how much does this data on the platform that you receive from Lazada have an impact on possibly your own discounts or your own product pricing? Does it have a role to play?
So it's a bit of a mixed bag today because again, as you said, it has to be optimized from each stakeholder's perspective. We sell our products on the platform, both two relationships, a retail relationship and a marketplace relationship. In one case, the owner selling the product is the platform itself. In other case, is just our representative selling on the platform. So in a way, the data access is different in both the cases, but probably that's how it is going to be. because that's what commercially is important at that point. But I guess we get sufficient amount of data to be able to target, to be able to convert. And if we go on a marketplace listing through another distributor, we even get data, sufficient data to drive loyalty with the same shopper, which does not happen in the case of a retail engagement. But I guess that's just a minor nuance.
Correct, and loyalty for sure plays a huge role on this entire e-commerce platform. So how, from your perspective, then we've heard. Sorry, Ashwini, go ahead.
No, I was just going to cap it by saying that from a brand perspective, ideal behavior for us is a consumer goes to the same platform and buys the same brand, because we are not an impulse category and we are not a high value once in 3 year purchase. Our business thrives, and we believe our retail partners' business thrives in routine, day in, day out, month in, month out. So as long as we drive that behavior, we build business for both.
Sure. And we have some questions coming in, and only about 5 minutes left on our time. So Ha, let me come back to you with the last piece of that puzzle when it comes to measurement framework. We've heard from David from a consumer and a platform perspective. We've heard from Ashwini from a brand perspective. In your point of view, therefore, you're as an agency, you're almost connecting the dots between these two, and also looking at media effectiveness and therefore media channel recommendation to drive the most effective, add more effective consumers into the purchase funnel, if you may. So what is your point of view on this whole e-commerce measurement framework? And what are the kind of metrics and KPIs that you would urge brands to look at?
I think that nowadays, more and more brands, they see marketplace is no longer a sales zone, but also, they see that as a very good hub for product education, for brand education as well. And you can view and educate your customers about your brands, about the offer of your products. And so for the set of the KPI, and also the commerce strategy should not just limit, the plan should not just limit the e-commerce activities on the marketplace. No, it should be the one commerce strategy across all channels, from social media, from all other channels, and also depends on how you land and where you land on the marketplace as the final state of the purchase funnel or on your brand.com. So the KPI will be set accordingly. So because marketplace and also the brand.com itself now no longer a sales zone, so I think it is also very good to add in some of the brand related KPIs into the set of the KPIs as well. Like, the KPI for the brand attribution KPIs, for the share of voice, for the sentiment KPIs, like both KPI as well. So those are the elements that should be highly recommended to add into the set of the KPIs measurement, in addition to the sales KPIs.
Indeed, thank you very much. And I'll summarize this a bit later, but I wanted to go back to some of the questions that have been asked by our audience. And the first one is to you, David. When you look at Lazada, you have the official store, and of course you have gray market sellers on the same platform, throwing a steeper discount than the official store. So how would you recommend brands actually safeguard their positioning on your platform?
Oh, okay. So the gray market exists everywhere, even in offline world. Everywhere you can find it, right? So online, offline is very similar. This issue cannot be avoided even offline, right? So this is why we have the differentiation that we created last mall channel. So the brands like KC, like Adidas, they have opened the last mall flagship store, right? With the last mall logo, it means the authentic, that you're buying from real shop, right, from the brand itself. Just like Adidas or KC opened a store in Ion Orchard in Singapore, a big shopping mall, right? It's authentic products. Well, of course, they are always have the great products everywhere in the small shops, right? But as a consumer, especially in Southeast Asia, and e-commerce is not that mature compared with US and China. So consumer come to marketplace, first thing they want to, spend the money wisely. They want to buy the real products. instead of you spend a few $100 buy a fake products, right? So they, of course, they prefer, if let's say you just spend a little bit more, they can buy authentic from the flagship store for the brands. They're willing to spend a little bit more. It's fine because they buy ease of mind first. And secondly, we have seen the same thing happening in Alibaba China on Tmall before. So a very big beauty company that in China also talk about the gray market thing. So many years ago, they have done this, we call it like clearance. So like try to kill as many gray market seller as possible. But in the end, after all the resources they invested to do this exercise, it didn't help that brand's sales. In the end, it reduced. So that then we realized that the brand also realized maybe we shouldn't do this cleanup. Actually, it's helping the brands about the awareness. More consumers see the brand's products. They are helping their own flagship store as well. So in the end, they decide just leave it. It's a nature. It happening offline as well, right? And also consumer prefer to spend a little bit more to get authentic from the flagship store on the brand.
Makes sense. Sorry, I lost my voice there for a bit. But one last question to her, because before we actually start to summarize this, because we're already about a couple of seconds over, is, you know, we're talking a lot about e-commerce strategy, but if we look at, and FMCG tends to be the key player, but if we start looking at luxury now as a category in Vietnam, how do you think luxury brands or sellers need to differentiate themselves when it comes to e-commerce and marketplace as compared to, you know, the regular FMCGs that and buyers who are very discount focused in the marketplace?
I think that the luxury brands, they stand out wherever they stand, you know, on the traditional communication channels or on e-commerce, because and they never have any, they never launch or they don't have any discount. Even offline or online, rarely we see that a discount. But the luxury brands, they have a very instinctive way of building their brand images, building their brand stories, and it works, you know, on non-e-commerce channels, and it also works on the commerce channels as well. And because the luxury brands, they already have a very certain loyal base of the customers, and that's, you know, and it just the loyalty guarantees them some traffic and some regular customers. So to answer your questions, I think that, you know, like to make the luxury brand stand out, we don't need to make the luxury brand stand out. We make that the luxury brands, whatever deals in commerce activities that they having, that able to reach the right target audience, you know, that they want to recruit. So it is all about the planning around, you know, like how to build the traffic, how to design the campaign, and how to make sure that we can apply the retargeting or remarketing tactics, you know, after you run the campaign and successful campaign, so you can learn the pattern of success, so apply for the next campaign. So that's my point of view.
Thank you so much, Ha. And quite honestly, Ashwini, Ha, and David, I have at least 7 more questions here that I've not even had the opportunity to ask you. And when it comes to e-commerce, I think it's a topic that we can all discuss for hours and hours, and 45 minutes seems like a very short time to kind of try and cram everything. But hopefully from our audience perspective, hopefully you would have picked out some of the key things that each of them have discussed, which would be important for you when you're going back and thinking about your own strategies. Is that it's extremely important to figure out in the entire e-commerce journey, what role does brand.com versus an external marketplace actually play for you, and therefore which part of the purchase funnel do they actually fit in? It's a strategy that requires both and not just either or for you to actually drive and build success. Something that Ashwini said that has really stuck with us as well is go where the consumer goes. And therefore, when you're building your e-commerce plans and strategies, it's very critical to know exactly who the consumer is and what kind of behavior change you are expecting from the consumer towards your brand when you're actually building out your e-commerce strategies. And when it comes to actually measuring it then, from a brand perspective, it is important to ensure you're tracking effective sale made And the change that Ashwini talked about, where you were first looking at the money that you're spending money to bring people to the platform, versus now actually emphasizing and optimizing the money that you spend on the platform, is extremely crucial. The second element of that, and that's something David has talked about a lot, is what exactly does optimizing on the platform truly mean? What kind of data that you can take advantage of when you are knowing more about your consumer, and making sure your dollar is most effective for you. Especially like David mentioned, everything is a funnel. So marketplaces allow you to go end to end, right from awareness down to fulfillment, which becomes an extremely important thing to consider, especially for FMCGs, because it gives you that scale. And of course, the third element of it cannot be ignored, which is the media channel element of it. You're already spending money to drive e-commerce, making sure then that all these data points connect so that you're able to get the most effective media channel and spend composition. So yeah, there have been a lot of questions, and thank you very much, Ashwini, David, and Ha, for taking us through this. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions, and hope you all thought this was an engaging session.